Next up on the Cosmic News Network, First Contact with Joshua Put.
Good morning, Earthlings. Good. How you doing today? Good. How you doing today? Welcome to First Contact Radio. Welcome to First Contact Radio. To talk about all these things I'm talking about is because in life, everything is energy. Every single thing that's out there.
Yo, it's First Contact with Joshua Poet. He's the man on the mic, just in case you didn't know it. Covering news from all around the globe, from the weather and space to UFOs. We'll talk politics and make you open your eyes. Conspiracy theories and government lies. We'll dig it all up and try to find the proof. Cause it's time to demand the truth. It's time.
First Contact Radio. We have
time to demand the truth.
It's time. First Contact Radio. We have live. First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand
First Contact Radio. We have arrived. First Contact Radio.
It's time to demand the truth.
Good morning, Earthlings. How you doing today? Welcome back from the weekend. Hope you had a good time. Today is the 22nd of February. We have a full moon. Our sun sign is in Pisces, a water sign. Our moon sign is in Virgo, an earth sign, earth and water. Let's just take a refresher on what that is. Pisces, water sign. Everything about this represents crawling out of the water of life, being protected by the emotions with the shell that is around us, moving through life, evolving. We have the wolf, we have the dog, then we have the path which goes to the pillars, and the pillars represent what we know, and past the pillars is what we don't know. And that's where faith is required. So looking at the lights in the sky, understanding the cosmos around us, we understand that there's something bigger moving us forward, and that allows us to have faith, or is an opportunity for us to have faith. The Hermit is the moon sign, Virgo. It's an earth sign. We got the lantern, which is being held high by the Hermit. The color gray represents it's not one path or the other. It's not to either extreme. It's walking the path of balance, teaching us the lessons of patience and timing. Patience and timing, very important lesson to learn. So some of the aspects we're looking at over the course of today, we have here 5:24 a.m. is when we made that switch into Virgo. We have an opposition at 12:20 p.m., an opposition between the sun and the moon. Take a look at that opposition right here. We have the sun sign, the moon sign. The moon's over here, just crossing from Leo into Virgo. The sun sign is crossed into Aquarius into Pisces, so both of them are right at the cusp. Remember, it's just like a teeter-totter. We want these two characters to play nice. So on one side, we have the conscious mind. It says we need to have faith. And the unconscious mind, right over here, is we need to have patience. And understand there's a timing to all things. So between that faith and that timing, we have a nice, good balance. We need to see that these two characters play nicely with each other. Later on, we're also going to have another opposition this evening. I believe that's 11:32 p.m. between Neptune. Neptune says we got to take a new perspective on things. So here's Neptune right over here. New perspective in Pisces. It means a new perspective in our feelings. Look at things a little different. And here we have the moon sign as we know about, which is the unconscious mind dealing with the physical world. Patience and timing within the physical world. Okay? So these are the aspects. This is what we're looking at over the course of today. So we need to be willing to take a look at this material world, this physical world, with a new perspective. We need to have some faith and understand patience and timing. Okay, those are our lessons. That's what we're dealing with today. Full moon, 100% of the way full. The actual full moon is at 10:19 a.m., which is in about 2 hours, a little less than 2 hours from now. On the Jewish calendar, today is 13 Adar, 13 Adar, and the daily thought for today is the highest high. There's no greater high than finding truth on your own. All worlds were made, all barriers put in place, every veil over truth was hung, and the soul plummeted from its pristine height to the confusion of this harsh world. All for this one thing alone, that you should uncover truth on your own. On the Mayan Oracle, or the Dreamspell Oracle, it's the end of a wave spell. A wave spell is a theme. So this theme is about exploration of space. It's the Skywalker, and we're at the last position, the cosmic position, the cosmic tone. This tells us we're getting ready to jump off to the next phase, and we're using our energy, the life force within us, to jump off, having learned all of this lesson of exploration, and now on we go. The phrase for today is I endure in order to survive, transcending instinct. I seal the store of life force with the cosmic tone of presence. I am guided by the power of universal water. The solar wind is currently at 347.9 kilometers per second. Planetary K index, currently quiet at a 1, might get up to 2 over the next 24 hours. Large coronal hole at the top, big one at the bottom. We're definitely going to be feeling the effect of the wind coming from that coronal hole, or both of them, at some point in time. It says around the 23rd to the 24th. M-class flare possibilities at 10%. X-class is at 1. Geomagnetic storm activity, mid-latitudes, looks like it's about 10%, staying stable. Stable in the upper latitudes, 15%, 20%. Just depends, minor or severe. And up here we have a notification. It says there's a full moon. According to folklore, there's a special name, the snow moon. On average, February is the snowiest month in the USA. Okay, so that's where we're at there. And looking up in the sky this week, tonight, as we look up today, we've got our full moon. And right above the full moon, we've got Regulus. Regulus. And then, of course, we have Leo, the lion. Regulus is the foot of the front foot of the lion here. And down below the moon to the left, we've got Jupiter. Okay. So there you have it. That's what's going on with our cosmic weather today. So we need to be taking some perspectives, new perspectives on some things. We're dealing with the unconscious physical reality of this world. So our unconscious mind is wanting to deal with that, and the conscious mind is walking through water. Faith is required. Okay? Remember, Pisces are the fish that swim in opposite directions. You know, one going one way, one going the other way. In order to be able to move forward, we have to get those fish swimming in the same direction, because if they're going two different directions, we got a problem. We then have a problem. Okay, there you go. That's our cosmic weather. UFO news is next.
This is the UFO news with Joshua Poet.
All right, Dirk, thank you very much. So what we have today are 5 good stories. The first one is taking us to the Philippines. Shape-shifting UFO over Calapan City, Philippines. Here's our object in question right here. Here's one interesting footage of an unidentified flying object that was hovering in the daytime sky above Calapan City in the Philippines. This was seen and recorded on the 15th of January. Witness reports saying unknown object hovering, fading in and out, changing shape and disappearing. Video of my girlfriend sometime around the middle of the month of January, in the middle of the day. She took the kids to the beach, and as she usually does a few times a week, she noticed this object. She brought the camcorder because she had spotted the object around the same time, roughly once a month. She also stated that when it appears, it's always in front of the sun. I was not present but watching the video, and it seems to change shape, reflect or absorb light. I also noticed what I think is a thin red line, maybe a light across the object. Okay. Video is not coming up at this point in time, but we do have the image itself. So we're going to have to suffice with that. Now we go over here. Mother claims to have captured a real flying saucer. Captured by taking a picture. Okay, she didn't catch it. Don't be deceived by the article. This mom didn't catch the UFO other than with a camera. Fiona Powell, the 41-year-old mother, claims to have captured a flying saucer. Her photo shows a classic UFO hovering over the Bristol area. According to her testimony, she was walking around the promenade on Severn Beach near the city center when she was amazed by the view of the clouds. She decided to capture it on camera. She noticed nothing strange when she took the photo. However, after several hours, she looked at the image and spotted an unexpected but familiar object. The picture seems to show a dome-shaped aerial object with a thin rim around the middle. The witness is still undecided whether to believe in aliens or not, but she finds her photo indeed meets the requirements of a UFO. Her friend zoomed in on the image, and it looked like the UFO even more. She also showed the picture to some of her wise friends, and they too were amazed at her capture. However, the realistic thing of the picture makes some observers think it may have been tampered with. They say the mother or someone related to her tampered with the Adobe Photoshop. Others are convinced it could have been from a smartphone application designed to add a realistic UFO in the digital photos. Some believe it is a good capture, but the image could have been a bird or a jet in flight. Okay, have you ever seen a bird that looks like this? I haven't either. Okay, have you ever seen a jet that looks like this? Yeah, me either. Okay, so we're going to eliminate bird and jet just by using a very simple principle called eyesight. Our eyesight tells us this is not a bird or this is not a jet. They also say it could be a seagull or a fighter plane. So does this look like a seagull? Nope, we're going to eliminate the seagull too. Fighter plane? Okay, there's all kind of weird technology that's out there, so there could be something to that one. So the only thing that of all of these that are discussed here could possibly be is a fighter plane. But when we look up close, we see this, and if it is, it's certainly some sort of high-tech technology that we are not normally familiar with. Right? All right, moving on. Mass UFO sighting near Lake Baikal in Russia. A UFO was seen flying slowly through the skies in several cities and towns near Lake Baikal in Siberia. People in these areas posted videos and photos online to support their accounts. Many witnesses are coming from residents in Irkutsk region. They say the UFO has a resemblance of a meteorite, but appears to be much brighter and moves too slowly. Okay, that doesn't really look like a meteorite to me, does it? To you? No, it looks like two long lines. Senior research scientist at the Institute of Solar Terrestrial Physics, Sergei Yazev, gives his take about the video after watching it. He rules out the possibility of it to be a comet because of the extremely slow velocity. Okay, so doesn't look like a comet to us, and guess what? Sergei doesn't think it's a comet either. Yazev adds that it's also not a spent rocket stage, as the speed when it falls would still be much greater. Huge or high fireball filmed above Texas. Here's our object in question. Take a look at the video here. See what we have. And the video doesn't want to play, so we don't have anything. There we go. Alright, that moves pretty fast across the sky. Now it looks like it's going down, doesn't it? Optical illusion. It's just going away from the camera, and it gets past our perspective point. And so that's why we look at it and say, oh, this thing must be landing or something. Now it's just flying further into the distance. That's all that is going on there. And one last, this is a video here, an interview with Richard Dolan. says that in this episode I speak with Richard Dolan about the latest work, his thoughts on current events, and his upcoming series of presentations in Canada starting April 2015. Okay, I guess it's a bit older. Historian Richard Dolan, author of the 4 groundbreaking books in the UFO phenomena, will analyze the UFO cover-up as only he can do. He will explain how the UFO phenomenon has quietly transformed our world, first from the presence of other beings here in our world, second from the acquisition of radical technology, and third from the need of internal secrecy in the matter. All three have contributed to the global system we have today, a nearly complete virtual totalitarianism that requires, for the time being, nearly continuous fake or false flag events to corral and control the public. Using a broad geopolitical approach, Nolan will explain multiple disclosure scenarios: premature disclosure, preferred disclosure, and people-driven disclosure. The results is a profoundly new way to understand one of the most paramount and least understood issues of our time. Okay, so we got the interview here. Check that out. I think you'll enjoy it. Richard is an awesome speaker. I've heard him numerous times, and he is filled with a wealth of information. So if you've never heard him speak, check this out. And if you have heard him speak, well, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that is our UFO news. I'm going to jump away. We're going to start off this week with a wake up, wake up, wake up.
What if our government was responsible for some of the greatest crimes against this nation? Would you really want to know? These are big questions, but these questions deserve answers. It's time to demand the truth.
People shouldn't be afraid of their governments. Governments should be afraid of them.
9/11 was an inside job. Kennedy was killed by the CIA. Jimmy Carter saw UFO. Answers to secrets you need to know. So wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. The evidence is overwhelming. Step past your fear, take a look. Illuminati lies keep growing, but they're illusion from your eyes. And wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What would our founding fathers say if they were alive today? Must be turning in their graves. Redcoats are coming, big brother's watching. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. What if I land into a by sea, and I and the opposite shore will be ready to ride and spread the alarm through every Middlesex village and farm. Whenever any form of government becomes destructive of these ends, it is the right of the people to alter or abolish it. When a long train of abuses and usurpations, pursuing invariably the same object, evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and to provide new guards for their future security. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up. Patriots arise. It's time to demand the truth.
Okay. Continuing on. Continuing on. So, the last couple weeks, Nag Hammadi Library. I know that you've gotten a lot out of it as I have because I've gotten emails and messages from you. So I'm glad that you're finding the information interesting. What I want to do is, rather than just reading the next piece of information from the Nag Hammadi, I want to start to put things together like a detective here, okay? Do a little bit of an investigation. See, I've been doing this show for a while. It's in my 7th year now. This is like my 1455th show, I think. And over that time, I've done a lot of different subjects. I can't think of really any subjects I probably haven't covered because I've covered them all at one time or another. And I've learned and I followed the path on a number of different subjects where they go. Some seem to lead to a dead end. They go nowhere. Many of them lead to someplace else. And I'd have to say, in all of this time, the most fascinating subjects and the place where it's led me to this point are the Nag Hammadi Library and the Earth. And when I say the Earth, I mean the Earth by the shape of the Earth we live on. I think these are very, very important pieces of information, and I want to tie together some research today to show you kind of where I'm going with this, because I think that there's something important here for us to know. You see, we live here on the Earth, and we play by a set of rules of the Earth. And we are told from the spiritual books, particularly the Bible, that the Earth was created by God and humankind was created by God, and here we are. But what the Bible fails to tell us is where this being that created the Earth and created humankind came from, and why we are here on the Earth, what this is all about. Was it just an experiment, or is there something else going on? Well, I think this is where we really need to look, because if there's a conspiracy of conspiracies, it would have to be this subject right here. The conspiracy of hiding God and keeping us detached from the source of God. Not only hiding him, but keeping him detached. So what I have here is a number of different sources of research, and I'm going to present them to you so that you can continue to do research as well, and we can really look at this, because what I'm going to talk about are some heavy-duty things, but you've heard me discuss them before, so you're probably not going to think I'm any more crazy than you thought before. Maybe you will. Maybe you think I've just gone over the deep end, and that's okay. That is okay. Sometimes going over the deep end isn't such a bad thing. So let's start here with the secret Apocryphon of John. Okay, we've learned in this book, through the Apocryphon of John, that Yeshua, after the resurrection, spoke with John and explained to John some things about the kingdom. And as he gets into talking with John, telling him about what's going on, Yeshua appears, Jesus. And he tells John about the kingdom, and he describes the kingdom as, the Father, the Mother, the Son. That's who he has appeared. And when he starts describing God, he describes God as a being that has no authority over it, the Father of all things, uncontaminated, nothing rules it. It is perfect, it is boundless, incomprehensible. And it continues on how it's majestic and all the light and the beauty and blessedness that it produces. And his realm is eternal and peaceful. And it continues on and it talks about this being does not have a name, and how it's nameless, because if it had a name, somebody was there to name it, and therefore they would rule over it. So therein lies our first piece of the puzzle. Yeshua, Jesus, tells us that the divine being is nameless. So when we hear a story that tells us that Yahweh or Jehovah is God, a red flag goes up in my mind, because The being that Yeshua told us about is nameless. Well, Yahweh or Jehovah are names. But Yeshua tells us God is nameless because there was no one to give God a name. Then we go through the stories in the Bible, and at one point, God reveals Noah, or Moses asks God upon the mountain, "How shall I tell people?" And he says, "Tell them that I am sent me." But again, there's still a name that is being assigned to this. And important clue, okay? I'm going to not get stuck there because there's a lot I want to go on. So we've got a being that is nameless that seems to be different than what we know. Yet we're told that our earth was created by this being, Yaldabaoth, Yahweh. And as we continue to move forward here, and we see the structures of the world, we see the structures, let me bring up the graph here, of the Mother, the Father, the Christ. Okay, here we have the immortal realms here. We have the Mother and the Father. And then from there, they interacted and a spark was created, and that spark became the Christ. This is not a being. We're in the immortal realms. We haven't gotten down to earth at this point in time. And then the Christ gave birth to multiple lights, 4 lights. And these 4 lights gave birth to multiple realms. And in one of these realms, we have Sophia. Sophia represents wisdom, and Sophia desired to bring into life something without the normal process of the mother, the father, the masculine, feminine. And Sophia left the immortal realms and went down into the material realms. And because she had such power and ability, as all the immortals did, to be able to manifest into reality what she thought about or saw, when she stepped down into the material realms and looked into that material realms, what came forth was not what she had intended. An errant thought brought forth this abomination, the head of a lion, the body of a serpent. And this being is called the Yaldabaoth. And she cast Yaldabaoth out of the immortal realms, and then she put a veil between the realms. So Yaldabaoth didn't know about the immortal realms, and she thought that those in the immortal realms wouldn't know about Yaldabaoth. Well, she was incorrect about those in the immortal realms not knowing, because the Father, Mother, the Holy Spirit, they know all things. So they simply observed now what was going on. What's happening in these realms? Yaldabaoth went off and created, as we've learned, a new world based upon what Yaldabaoth understood the old world looked like. So let's start looking over at some of these things here, and that brings us to, well, let's look at this first. One of the terms that is used often is firmament. Firmament is a word that says that all of these realms that were created in the immortal realms all had a firmament. And when Yaldabaoth created this realm, one of the first things we hear from the book of Genesis is this firmament that was created. And here's an example. So the firmament is a structure above the atmosphere conceived as a vast, solid dome. According to the Genesis creation, God created the firmament to separate the waters above the earth from the waters below the earth. So each one of these realms, if we are to look at this and understand firmament as it says, each one of these realms has a vast, solid dome over it. So Yaldabaoth comes to earth, or creates the earth, as a copy of this. Therefore, he creates a reality that is the material realm with a dome over it. Okay? All is a counterfeit of what Yaldabaoth knew of the immortal realms. Now, Yaldabaoth at this point in time thought he was God. He created angels, he created demons, he had all of his reality because he understood enough to be able to bring into reality those things. He didn't understand the concept of the Father because Sophia cut off that opportunity. She sealed off the immortal realm because she was embarrassed. She was ashamed. So Yaldabaoth is going on ignorant of his true father, ignorant of what was going on in the world of the immortals. So as Yaldabaoth goes and creates, Yaldabaoth is creating and thinking he's it, he's God. And Sophia decided that she needed to go to the father with what she had done. And of course the father knew, but when she went to the father and explained her situation, he took mercy and had compassion upon her and decided he would help her. Because one of the things Yaldabaoth did when he was cast away from the immortal realms was to take a piece of her, that light that was within her, and that was how he was creating, okay? He had this light that he could create, but he didn't understand the spirit that flowed through him, so he wasn't able to bring his creations into the full divinity. He was only able to make a counterfeit reality of a world with a firmament, with a dome over it. Okay? So we look at some of the ancient cosmologies of what was believed the world looked like. Here's what we see. We see a earth with a dome over it. From the Greeks to the Hebrews, medieval, I mean, you can go on and on, okay? You can just look through here and you can see all similar pictures. Firmament, we got the earth, got the sun and the moons. Okay, so we have a counterfeit reality. We have Yaldabaoth. Created this reality, has a dome over it, just like the immortal realms. Now one day, because Sophia had appealed to the father about what had happened, he decided to help her out. So he had an emissary, spoke down to Yaldabaoth, said that, Yaldabaoth, you're not God. You are one of many creations, and that the Father of all was the one who created everything. And the reflection of God looking down from above the firmament down into the earth reflected in the waters. And that reflection in the waters is what Yaldabaoth saw. And Yaldabaoth now understood to a degree that there was someone else out there, and this caused jealousy. So now Yaldabaoth wasn't ignorant. Yaldabaoth became arrogant because he didn't want to have somebody else above him. He had become too used to creating reality without somebody else. Okay? So Yaldabaoth decided the best thing to do was to try to trap that spirit and have it for himself. Make that spirit subservient to him. That's where humankind came from. That's where these skin suits that we wear came from, because of Yaldabaoth wanting to do that. And so the way Yaldabaoth did that was he had made all these angels. He had 7 suns, which are connected with the 7 planets, the 7 main planets in our solar system. He had all of them together, and they created Adam, the first being. And 365 angels and demons, they all went and put all their energies and powers and blessedness into it. They wanted it to be something really awesome, and it was awesome. The only thing is, Yaldabaoth couldn't bring it to life, so it just laid there on the ground. Because Yaldabaoth knew how to create, but didn't understand that connection to spirit, and when he saw the Father being arrogant of it, he simply rebelled. Well, this was the opportunity for now God to intercede, the Father to intercede to make things right. So an emissary was sent down, several emissaries, and they spoke to Yaldabaoth, and they said, Yaldabaoth, you need to breathe into this being a particular way, and the being will come to life. So Yaldabaoth did that, and what happened, that spark that he had from his mother of divinity that was inside went out into Adam, went out into the first male upon this earth. And that being then came to life. But what was inside of Adam was that divine spark, and that divine spark began to teach Adam. Adam. There's a father and a mother and the divine Son, the Christ, and you are all part of this, and this is what flows through you. You are not of this body. This body is just trying to trap all of this within, but you are more than all of this. And Yaldabaoth saw this and became very, very concerned because his being that he had created was now getting some instruction from somewhere else. So, thus far I've used the name Yaldabaoth. But we're going to interchange that name with the name you're more familiar with from the Bible, which is Yahweh or Jehovah. It's all the same being. And Yaldabaoth, Yahweh, Jehovah, however you want to reference him, became jealous. And in the Bible it says that Adam was put into a deep sleep. So this is what happened. Adam was put into a deep sleep, a state of ignorance. And during this point in time, he was cleaved in two, and the female, Eve, was brought out of Adam. Another creation was made, okay? A female version of Adam. However, that divine spark that was part of Adam simply transferred into Eve, and she continued to be instructed by this wisdom. And so Adam and Eve were learning and they were growing, and Yaldabaoth was jealous because Yaldabaoth couldn't do anything about it. And all of the angels and the demons were all jealous because they knew the being that they created was bigger and more powerful than all of them combined because it had all of their goodness. So, Yaldabaoth eventually kicked Adam and Eve out of the garden because he couldn't control them. Now, just prior to that, let me backtrack a moment. In the Garden of Eden, we're told the story of the serpent that tempts Eve, and we're told that this is the original sin, that Eve took the apple, ate it, and gave it to Adam. But that's not the story that Yeshua tells. You see, this spirit that was able to go into Adam and also into Eve is a spirit that is the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit. And when the beings on earth, the demons, or other name for them, archons, saw this being that had this spirit in it, all they wanted to do was defile it. And so Eve, or the spirit, left Eve. She went out and she entered into the body of the serpent. The serpent was another being that had been created at that point in time up by Yaldabaoth. So the spirit goes into there and it instructs Eve to eat the apple, because therein would be the wisdom that would remove the blindness from their eyes so they could truly see what was going on in the universe, that there was more than just Yaldabaoth. And so they did this, and the spirit left the serpent, and when Yaldabaoth found out from Adam and Eve what had happened and they told him the serpent, he cursed the serpent because he thought that this was the serpent that did it. He didn't know that the spirit had gone in. And so eventually, Yaldabaoth kicks Adam and Eve out of the Garden of Eden. But he further became jealous, and eventually he rapes Eve. She gives birth to Cain and Abel. And we know the story of how the war went between the two of them. They battled, one killed the other. But all the while, all of this is occurring on the earth that has a firmament over it, a dome over it. Okay? So if we go further, just looking at ancient cosmology, if we go over to looking at the idea of pleroma. Pleroma is a word that's used within this. And what's one of the things we have here under pleroma? We have this image here. Same image we see when we look over here at the ancient cosmology. Okay? And it looks like a firmament, doesn't it? Looks like a dome, and a person sticking their head out from the dome and seeing that there's something else out there. Pleroma means the fullness of the universe, the fullness of all of God's creation. Here we have the same thing. If we go further, we look at the Gnostic cosmos. Gnostic means gnosis. We look at some of these images here, and we start to see similar things. There you go. There it is again. Let's look at this one here particularly. This is an image of the upper realms, the immortal realms, Father, the Mother, also known as the one parent, giving birth to the Christ, the divine autogens. We have the four lights of the divine autogens and the 12 aeons created, 3 in each. And then we have Sophia dropping down into the material realm, and Yaldabaoth comes into existence, and then Yaldabaoth creates these 7 suns, which are representative: Saturn, Jupiter, Mars, the Sun, Venus, Mercury, the Moon. Also created others that represented beings of the underworld. And all of these beings here are called archons. Okay? One of the names for Yaldabaoth is the Demiurge, or the chief archon. And all of the beings were the archons that were created. These are beings that are just all following Yaldabaoth, thinking he was God, until they saw the real God. And then there was rebellion that took place. Rebellion took place because some of them said, Yaldabaoth, you lied to us. You told us you were God, and now we find out otherwise. So what's really going on? Yaldabaoth didn't like that. Yaldabaoth wanted to be in power. Yaldabaoth was arrogant. Okay, so we have this cosmology. That's a duplicate copy of the immortal realms. It has a dome over it, a firmament. And that brings... Okay, we can go on and on here, and I can keep going through all of these passages. The point being, as you can see, the Bible tells us that the earth doesn't move. It has a foundation, that the Almighty inscribed a circle upon it, or God inscribed a circle upon it. No place does it say a sphere, but a circle. Okay? If we go back here, I have another link here for you. This is a link because you know where it's going now. This is the earth is flat. And we have a variety of links getting into this discussion here. But I want to show you some of these things here. This here is a map, or the flag of the United Nations. It's the flag of the flat earth. This is a map image that was drawn by a Persian scientist back when all believed that the earth was flat. Here's an image of what is believed. You have the earth, 4 corners of the earth, the 4 angels holding up the 4 corners of the earth. Here's another image. This whiteness around here represents the ice wall of Antarctica, and that the earth is in the middle here. I mean, all of the all the continents, and they were arranged in a way that one would be able to fly from one continent to the next. Think you were going around a globe because you're still moving from. Okay, here we have says, think about it. Do you really think God would create an earth where you cannot stand upright? Stop ignoring your senses. The earth is flat. Okay, let's see here. There's some other interesting ones here. I forget the name of this movie here. This was the one where he went underground. But here's a flat earth map in the back. Okay, here's my question is this. If the earth is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, which is we're told what it's doing, and it revolves around the sun at 66,600 miles per hour, while the sun shoots through space at 450,000 miles per hour, why haven't the constellations changed in thousands of years? Because if we're moving through space at this, we would be moving way past this. We wouldn't be in the same area. Yet they keep going round and round and round and round. Okay? And here's a good picture here. It says, we're living on a spinning ball hurling through a galaxy at 1,000 miles an hour, orbiting the sun 67,000 miles an hour, which orbits the center of the Milky Way galaxy at 515,000 miles per hour. speeding through the universe at 1.3 million miles. So why aren't we all discombobulated? Why aren't we leaning to one side or another? People say, oh, because there's an atmosphere. Well, if there's an atmosphere, guess what? You just described a system that has a dome over it. Okay, something keeping us enclosed. All right, let me go and just pull up a couple other links here to this. Here's pictures of the flat Earth. Here's an interesting analogy. It says, she goes to the bathroom, takes 192 photos. We went to the moon how many times and took 5 photos of the Earth? Okay, you can see that when we look at the pictures of the Earth that have been sent to us, we could see they're doctored. We could see things don't make sense. All right, we have satellites. We're told that we have tons of satellites, thousands and thousands of satellites. Okay, 17,000 of them. So we would imagine then if we were far enough back looking at the Earth, we should see satellites around the Earth. This is just a graphic example. But why aren't we seeing all of these satellites? Why do we never see a cluster of satellites around? Okay, we would think we'd see something. We'd think maybe they'd be bouncing off to each other, but we don't get that. Okay, so on and on. So that brings us to, let me see where we're going to go next here. These, we've got the biblical things. The Bible quotes, we went over those. So, bottom line of all of this that I want you to look at is the world we live on is not what we think. Our source of information about the shape of the Earth is NASA. And that only's come about since the 50s, 60s. And we've only been shown 1, maybe 2 images of the Earth. But we've discovered that we've never really seen a picture of the Earth because we find out that these are all composites. A composite is when you take a series of, they say it's a series of strips because they say that these satellites are traveling around the Earth and they're taking a strip of the Earth, a picture, and then another strip and another strip. When they put all these together, they composite them all into one image. But then they can't do anything with that, so they have to now start looking at numbers and calculations of where things are and start putting the pieces together. So the Earth we finally see is an image that is photoshopped. Well, that's not real Earth. I want to see a picture of the real Earth, but there isn't any out there. Because if one was taken, it would be discovered that we don't live the way that we're told. So why are we being lied to? Why are we being told we live on a ball spinning at 1,000 miles an hour that itself is spinning and going through at 67,000 miles per hour, that itself is in a system moving at 150 some odd thousand miles per hour? Because, as we've backtracked, Yaldabaoth, Yahweh, was cast out of the immortal realms, created a world with a firmament, a dome over it, put humankind in there, made an effort to trap God in that being, and here we are. And unless we have a way to be able to get the wisdom to understand our connection to divinity, we continue to stay trapped. Well, a being that has the spirit within it has the ability to evolve, to grow. Unless, of course, someone tries to block that information, which is exactly what we're told. So the stories that we're hearing are backwards. Okay? We have a Bible that is an Old Testament that is filled with stories of a being that is the fallen one. The original sin didn't come on earth. The original sin occurred when Yaldabaoth came from Sophia. The original sin isn't about humankind. We don't have to redeem ourselves. What we need to do is understand that our spirit is in these bodies that are trying to trap us. But then Yeshua comes along, and Yeshua, the spirit of the Christ, of the divine autogens, enters the body of Yeshua and shows all that the body is more than what we think it is, that our spirits can soar, that we are connected to divinity. When you read through all that Yeshua talks about, there is never a time where Yeshua refers to God as Yahweh or Yaldabaoth or any other name other than Father, Abba, Mother, all parents. Doesn't refer to that because he knew. And the stories of the Nag Hammadi library, which we go back to, these tell the story of Yaldabaoth and this whole idea of this being that was created and created this counterfeit reality. So the reason I bring all of this up is because all of this is connected. And this, what I believe, is the greatest conspiracy of all times, the conspiracy to hide God, because the being that we have been led to believe as God isn't God. God is the Father, the Mother, the Holy Spirit, members of the immortal realm, nameless beings from the immortal realm, not the one who we're told that created humankind. That was a fallen being that created us, created humankind. So what we need to do is we need to understand that we are living in a terrarium, a flat earth with a dome over it. And here we are, running around as beings in skin suits with the spirit in us, not knowing how to get out. Because as time has evolved, these archons and the archonic confluence has kept us trapped because we have leaders that are not telling us the truth about things. They are keeping us trapped in ignorance. Churches, religions, politics, the system that is in place on this material realm is not about encouraging you to go and connect with spirit. But yet all of the ancients of this planet, up until 500 years ago, all understood that we live on a flat plane with a dome over it. And suddenly comes Newton and Copernicus and that whole clan in the Renaissance period of time, all connected to the Masons or the Jesuits or the Illuminati, all came along to tell us that the earth is a round ball and we're spinning. Well, if we believe that, and then we don't understand that we're actually trapped in a terrarium, there's a big problem. A lot of people really get upset when you bring this topic up. I've watched more discussions and seen more discussions that take place with those who get angry about this particular subject because they don't want to believe it. And when you ask them to prove that the ball theory is correct, most of the time people are just going to call you names and ridicule you for doing so. When you say, how can we live on a ball? How can you take a ball and put water around it and keep it around that water? How can you keep it there? How does it stay? And others will say, well, gravity. Gravity keeps it there. Okay, but if we're in a system that I and you and all beings are subjected to this gravity where we're here, then isn't everything subject to this gravity? So shouldn't I be able to take a ball then and put water around it and it should stay around that if I'm spinning it at 1,000 miles an hour? You would think we should be able to replicate that experiment, but we can't. What I've come to discover in the study of this particular subject of the enclosed Earth system, that people I've known and are studying this didn't go in to prove the Earth was flat. They've gone in to prove that the Earth was a ball. Because like myself, we've all looked at it and said, this is the dumbest thing ever. Are we going to go backwards now and we're going to say the Earth is flat when we have all this information that it's a ball? And so we've gone in looking at it to prove that it's a ball. And guess what? We can't. Because we start finding out that all the pictures of the ball that we live on don't exist. That all the pictures we've been shown are Photoshop images. That NASA hires more graphic artists than they do scientists, because these graphic artists take information that is gathered from various sources, like the Hubble telescope, that simply shoots back information, numbers, codes, that are then used and put into a computer or given to an artist to create these renditions of planets and stars that are supposedly out there. But none of what they're saying matches anything of the cosmology of any of the major 5 religions up until 500 years ago. So what we apparently have is we live on this flat plane, plane, with a dome over it, and on the outside edge around it we have this huge ice wall. Mile high, a couple miles high, 2 miles high. Admiral Byrd and many others took expositions out there. They traveled there. They climbed to the top of it. They found that there was tremendous amount of resources. Admiral Byrd said that there was more land out there than we could imagine. There was land as big as the United States, completely unexplored. We don't know what's out there because after they were there and were all excited about the resources that they would have, suddenly things changed and they all left, and there was a treaty that was made that no one was going to go back other than the beginning parts of Antarctica. Nobody could go back and to really explore. No one's been able to circumnavigate Antarctica. Antarctica is, we're told, is just one small area down at the bottom of the earth. So we should be able to sail around it. No one's been able to do that. And many have tried, because it's a big ice wall that goes all the way around. And what's outside beyond that ice wall? Don't know. We've not gotten there. Are there other beings that live over there? Possibly. There's land as big as the United States, probably bigger. So who lives there? We don't know. Could be some of these other races. Could be these extraterrestrials. Could be the giants. Could be the Bigfoot. Could be just the edge. Something's going on out there. But as you can see, there is a direct connection to all of these things. So as I've looked at this enclosed earth, flat earth model, and then the Nag Hammadi library, I see them fitting together. Because that for me answers the question of who created this and why. It was created because the fallen one was creating a counterfeit world. Humankind was created because the fallen one wanted to trap God. And Yeshua came to show us how to get out of this terrarium by recognizing the Father, recognizing that the being that created us isn't the being that is God, but simply a counterfeit who's claiming to be God that isn't. So, a lot of information. You may have written me off as being an absolute Looney Tune at this point in time. That's okay. That's okay. I've been called much worse, and I'm not even concerned, because I know through the studies that I have done, through the research that I've embarked upon over this last year, I know that I'm moving in the right direction. I know there's truth to what I'm pointing out to you. So I wanted to provide you with all of these links so you yourself can go and look up these links and study this. And then we'll come back and we're going to revisit this again at another time. But this is a huge, huge topic, a lot to really wrap your head around to understand. But I guarantee you, once it clicks and once you get it, you won't look at the world the same way, because you'll start to realize that the images you see when you look out at the ocean and you start to see the flatness of the ocean, you'll realize we don't live on a curved earth. Because if we lived on a ball, that means the ball would be moving around. And when we looked into the distance, we could only see a certain distance because we would be seeing straight ahead from our perspective, but the ball Earth would be curving down. So at a certain point in time, there would be a drop-off point. And anything that was on that ball as it got to the drop-off point would be dropped below what we could see, the horizon line that we're able to see out of. And the further down it goes, the less we're going to be able to see it. And there's a formula, 8 inches per mile squared. And so we can take mileage and we can understand that we shouldn't be able to see something 60 miles away, 80 miles away, 100 miles away. And yet there are numerous sources online where you can go see video of places that are that far away, where someone is standing in one place looking at a distance of something 60 miles away and seeing it not below the horizon. And once you start to realize that, you realize there's nothing that is curving down. We're on a flat plane. We're on a flat plane and we have a firmament, a dome over it. That's what we're told from all of our spiritual books. The only ones who tell us otherwise are the Masons, the Jesuits, and the Illuminati. So that's the story. I'm sticking to it. As bizarre as it sounds, I believe it's the biggest conspiracy that we have, the conspiracy to hide God and hide the shape of the planet that we're on, because this planet is nothing more than a terrarium that we're trapped in, and that through the blessings and the teachings of Jesus Christ, Yeshua, we are able to get out of this terrarium. So Yaldabaoth, Yahweh, Jehovah, all the same being, that's not God. That's the counterfeit. Okay? All right. I'm going to leave it all there. You can contemplate how insane you think I am at this point in time. I am going to move on, and I'm going to play for you a channeled message for today. That was the UFO news, and we're not going backwards there. Okay, this is Quan, or as the computerized voice will say, Xuanyin. Here we go.
Desires and Beliefs, Xuanyin, February 20th, 2016. Channeled by Daniel Scranton. It is I, Xuanyin. In your discovery of a desire within you, there is often the belief attached to it that immediately follows. You give as much, if not more, of your attention to the belief as you do to the desire itself. What if, instead, you continued to remain focused on the desire? What if you ignored the tendency to entertain your belief about it? This would serve you, no matter what that belief happened to be. The desire summons more life force through you than even the most positive belief about it could. I am not suggesting that you spend all of your time focusing on desires that are unfulfilled in your experience. But I am suggesting that when you are aware of a desire within you, that you release that attachment to the belief that immediately follows your awareness of your desire. Let the desire itself guide you. Let the desire fill you with that life force energy that it summons forth, and then let yourself be moved in the most appropriate direction. When you have no belief, then you do not question whether or not you are moving in the right direction. It does not matter in fact, because you are simply caught up in the energy of the desire itself. You are more interested in feeling the flow than you are in the fulfillment. Fulfillment itself implies a finish line. It implies that once you align with your desire, that you are somehow going to stop in your motion forward. But the desire itself will bring with it seedlings that will plant new desires within you, and they will keep you moving forward on your path, keep you expanding into more of who you are. I am Xuanyin, and I hold you in my heart.
All right, very nice message from Xuanyin, or Quan Yin. That brings us to our meditation for today, so close your eyes. take a deep breath and exhale. Take another deep breath and exhale again. And another breath and exhale. Now just feel the breathing in and out, in and out. And feel the calmness that comes over you as you breathe. And this breath, this spirit that flows through you, connects each and every one of us to something far beyond. So follow this spirit, this breath, from the physical body. Follow it through the invisible realms, past that which we know, into the world of the unknown. And follow this spirit back to its source. And we see it move outside the dome into the immortal realms. We see the 12 aeons, realms of creation. We see the lights. We see the Christ, the divine autogens. And we follow it all the way back to the source of the Mother and the Father. And we understand this source flowing with life, flowing with light, love, emanates forth through all, continues to flow forth through all things. And we realize now our connection to this higher spirit. We look around the world and we see the world with new eyes. We see the dome that encloses this earth-like structure. We understand the flatness of this plane that we exist upon. And we understand the nature of the being that created us, simply to trap that Spirit of God because of its own ignorance. So we look at all of this and we have compassion. We have compassion for Yaldabaoth Yahweh, for not understanding this connection to the Father. And we send forgiveness out to this being, knowing that as we understand our connection, there is nothing that can hold us back. And may we be continuous examples of this divinity, that we may inspire others to look beyond this illusionary world to that which is existing beyond. Let's imagine ourselves moving through this world, just sharing the light within us for others to see. And one by one we see beings across this earth lighting up, sharing that light with others, till one by one the entire earth plane is filled with light. And in that light, ignorance dissipates, darkness disappears. So let the subconscious mind continue on that journey of emanating forth that which flows through you. And let's bring the conscious mind back to the present moment on the count of 3. 3, coming back to the present moment filled with faith. 2, coming back to the present moment filled with confidence. And 1, coming back to the present moment happy, healthy, and whole. Happy, healthy, and whole. Take another deep breath. Exhale. And open your eyes. That's it, my friends. That's the show for today. Thank you so much for being here. I know there's a lot of information that was presented today. Follow the links. Follow the stories. Set aside any judgments you have and look at this whole thing objectively. And you will find that there is more than meets the eye in what we've been told. You will understand about the illusionary nature of this material world and understand the reality of the immortal realms. And therein you will understand this connection we have. And when you do, I guarantee you the words of Yeshua, the words of the Nag Hammadi will all come into crystal clarity, for you will understand how it all fits together. Pieces of a puzzle, my friends, and we're simply the ones who are putting it together to understand. That's it for today. I'll be back tomorrow. Have an awesome day. I love you. Keep loving each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Peace. I'm out of here.